You didn't land on this video out of boredom, not because of some random scroll or idle curiosity. Something in you is searching for quiet, for clarity, for control, in a world that rarely offers it. Maybe your days feel overfull, like you're constantly reacting, constantly pulled. One moment you're lost in thought, the next you're chasing someone else's urgency. Somewhere between emails and errands, between the shoulds and the musts, you've forgotten how to be. And that's why you're here. Because part of you is whispering, there must be another way to live. A quieter way, a steadier way. A path where you don't have to escape the world, but where the world no longer tosses you like a leaf in the wind. That's where Stoicism enters, not as a philosophy to be studied, but as a practice to be lived. You won't find perfection in these ideas. What you'll find instead is permission. Permission to pause, to think, to live on purpose, not on impulse. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That's the promise of Stoicism. Not that life will stop testing you, but that you'll stop surrendering to it. Over the next 8 sections, you'll explore grounded, practical ways to practice Stoicism, not as ancient rules, but as daily movements, breaths, choices. If you find something in these words that steadies you, consider subscribing. This channel exists to walk this path with you, one decision, one pause, one breath at a time. Let's begin. Number 1, the Dawn Audit. You open your eyes, and the day is already sprinting. Notifications, tasks, responsibilities before your feet even touch the floor. Your mind is halfway down a list you didn't write. You know this feeling, like life isn't something you live, but something that happens to you. That quiet center you keep promising to return to. It slips away before breakfast. This is where the practice begins, not at midday, not after the chaos, but first thing in the morning. The Stoics understood something we often overlook. How you begin is how you carry. And if you don't claim your mind at dawn, the world will claim it for you. Epictetus said it plainly. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. None of them can hurt me. This isn't pessimism. It's preparation. It's calibration, like checking the weather before heading out. You don't fear the rain, but you bring a coat. So what is the Dawn Audit? It's the simplest, smallest ritual you can perform to shift your posture from reactive to ready. Not a 5-hour morning routine, not an ice bath, green juice, or yoga playlist. Just 3 breaths and a question. Breath 1, feel the weight of your body, you're alive. That's enough for now. Breath 2, think about what might challenge you today. A rude client, a delayed train, a restless mind. Breath 3, ask, what kind of person do I want to be when that happens? Not what will I do, but who will I become in the face of it? Because Stoicism isn't about controlling events. It's about preparing the inner lens through which you'll see them. And this short moment, this quiet audit, is like adjusting a camera before the shot. Your frame changes everything. Metaphor. Imagine waking up like a pilot running through a pre-flight checklist. Before takeoff, you don't guess if the wings are stable or the fuel is full. You check, you prepare, and then you fly. Your thoughts are your aircraft. Check them first. Don't just hit autopilot. What does this actually look like practically? Here are 3 ways to embed the Dawn Audit into your real messy life. 1. Sticky note on the mirror. Write, what kind of person do I want to be today? Look at it while brushing your teeth. Let it interrupt the scroll. 2. Lock screen reminder. Change your phone's lock screen to a calming image with 1 word: stillness. Before the digital world floods in, you get a breath. 3. The wrist touch method. When you wake up, touch your wrist gently with the other hand. Use this as a physical cue to take your 3 breaths. Over time, it becomes instinct. Your body reminds your mind. Why does this matter? Because if your first action is reaction, you've already surrendered your agency. But if your first action is reflection, you start from within on your own terms. The Stoics didn't wait for quiet. They practiced creating it, and it always began at dawn. Reflective question. Tomorrow morning, what would change if you paused just for 10 seconds before anything else? Not to fix, not to fight, just to choose your lens. Because once you adjust that lens, the rest of the day doesn't control you. You control how you meet it. Number 2, circles of control. You want peace. But life keeps handing you everything except that. People interrupt you, plans unravel, news floods in that you never asked for. You try to manage it all, but end up drained. It's a familiar ache, feeling responsible for things that don't listen to you. The opinions of others, the choices of strangers, the weather, the past, the future. And this is where the Stoics draw a bold, unapologetic line. Epictetus writes, "Some things are up to us, and some are not. Our opinions, our pursuits, our desires, our aversions are in our power, but our body's property, reputation, and command are not." That's the core. Not everything deserves your energy, and more importantly, not everything needs it. The Stoics call this your sphere of control. Imagine it like 2 concentric circles. The inner circle holds what's truly yours, your thoughts, your choices, your attitude. The outer circle, that's the noise, the traffic, the gossip, the algorithm, the economy. Most suffering comes from trying to drag things from the outer circle into the inner one, trying to force what's not yours to obey. But what if you stopped reaching outward and started returning inward? That's the practice. That's where Stoicism sharpens. Because clarity doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from knowing what not to try to control at all. Metaphor. Imagine standing at the shore during a rising tide. The waves crash in loud and relentless. You could try yelling at them to stop. Or you could step back and focus on building a strong footing above the waterline. You are not the tide. You are the builder. So how do you practice this? Step 1. The control audit. When stress hits, grab a piece of paper or your notes app. Split the screen in half. Left column can control. Right column cannot control. Example, you're stuck in traffic. You can control your breathing, your playlist, your inner dialogue. You cannot control the road, the red lights, the drivers around you. Most people try to solve both. You won't? Instead, direct your effort only where it matters. Step 2, mental cue phrase. When anxiety rises, repeat this simple line. Not mine to carry, let it be your shield. When someone's tone feels sharp, when a comment online stings when your day doesn't go as planned, say it even softly, not mine to carry. It won't erase discomfort, but it will cut the leash that ties your peace to what isn't yours. Step 3, practice detachment, not apathy. Stoicism is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. You can still care, still engage, still contribute, but without tying your inner peace to the result. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. In other words, you can show up fully without being shaken easily. Let's say your coworker critiques your idea. It stings. But pause. Can you control their tone? No. Can you control your ego's reaction? Yes, that's your ground. Stand there. Reflective question. Next time something frustrates you, ask, is this inside my circle or just passing through? Because most of what we try to control isn't ours, and most of what is ours gets neglected. So what if for just one day, you focused only on what belongs to you? Your breath, your posture, your reply, your pause. The storm may still rage, but your anchor would finally hold. Number 3, negative visualization, positive power. You spend so much of your life trying to avoid discomfort, avoid failure, avoid loss, avoid imagining anything going wrong. And yet what happens when the moment finally hits? You're caught off guard. You spiral, you panic, you react. But the Stoics, they did the opposite. They welcomed the thought. They looked at the worst-case scenario on purpose. Seneca, the sharp-tongued Stoic of Rome, advised he robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand. This was the practice of Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, not because the Stoics were dark, grim pessimists, but because they were prepared optimists. They didn't visualize tragedy to suffer twice. They visualized it to suffer less and to live more fully. Here's the paradox. When you imagine losing something, you stop taking it for granted. And in that moment, you actually gain more appreciation for it. Metaphor: picture a sculptor studying a fragile statue. The edges are delicate. One careless knock and a part could crumble. So they handle it not with fear, but with deep reverence. Because they've imagined its fragility, they honor its presence. You're holding fragile things too. Health, loved ones, opportunities. You don't need to fear their loss, but you do need to remember that they're not guaranteed. So, how do you practice this without sinking into sadness? Step 1. The evening loss rehearsal. At the end of your day, choose one thing you're grateful for. Now ask gently, what if I didn't have this tomorrow? What if the friend you laughed with moved away? What if the warm bed you curl into wasn't there tonight? Not to scare yourself, but to wake yourself up. Notice how gratitude sharpens, how presence deepens, how suddenly the ordinary glows. Step 2. Micro-loss meditation. Sit quietly for 3 minutes. Imagine something small, not catastrophic, like your morning walk disappearing or your favorite coffee shop closing. Breathe with the discomfort, then breathe with the appreciation. You'll walk into that coffee shop tomorrow with new eyes. Step 3. Anticipate challenge, not disaster. Let's say you're preparing for a job interview. Instead of just visualizing success, try this. Imagine the interviewer being cold, the room noisy, your answer falling flat. Then ask, what would the Stoic version of me do? Would you crumble or calmly return to the moment? Answer honestly, breathe, and keep going. That's the power of this practice. You become resilient before the fall. Marcus Aurelius wrote, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness come. Why? Because when it arrives, he's not surprised. He's steady, and there's unexpected joy in this. When you realize life owes you nothing, everything becomes a gift. The breeze on your walk, a gift. A text from a friend, a gift. The breath you're taking right now, a gift. So many people only wake up after loss. But you can wake up now. Reflective question. What would shift if instead of fearing loss, you used it to ignite your gratitude? What would your ordinary life feel like if you knew deeply that none of it is guaranteed? Because the goal isn't to live in fear. The goal is to live in fullness. And the Stoics knew sometimes imagining the dark makes you cherish the light. Number 4, voluntary discomfort. You've been taught to seek comfort, warm beds, quick meals, soft routines, and the moment life feels hard, you reach for ease. A scroll, a snack, a skip. But deep down, you know ease doesn't build strength. Comfort doesn't forge character. What does? Friction, the kind you choose. Seneca wrote, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, the while is this the condition that I feared. This wasn't punishment, it was training. Voluntary discomfort, a Stoic discipline meant to sharpen your edge, not dull your joy. And no, it doesn't mean becoming a monk overnight. It means you practice being uncomfortable on purpose, so when discomfort isn't a choice, you already know how to handle it. Think of it this way. Metaphor. A blacksmith doesn't fear fire, they use it. They enter the heat willingly because they know that fire, when directed, forges steel. So how do you practice this in real life? without turning your day into a punishment. Step 1. Choose one discomfort per week. Make it small, simple, deliberate. Skip your usual chair and sit on the floor for 15 minutes. Go for a walk without your phone. Eat plain rice and beans one evening. Sleep without a pillow. Take a cold shower. Nothing heroic, just different, just mildly inconvenient. Then ask yourself, did I survive? Or did I discover a strength I forgot I had? You're not doing this to prove anything. You're doing it to reclaim your ability to stay calm when things don't go your way. Step 2. Delay pleasure, sharpen gratitude. Instead of reaching for your favorite thing immediately, pause, wait 10 minutes, then enjoy it consciously. That chocolate, that coffee, that show, let it be something earned, savored, not mindlessly consumed. This delay rewires your relationship with pleasure. It becomes a gift again, not a habit you're enslaved to. Step 3. Practice being the observer. When discomfort hits, don't escape. Don't fight it, just observe it. Say, this is discomfort. This is what it feels like. I'm still here. Epictetus reminds us, it's not events that disturb people, it's their judgments about them. So when you feel hunger, cold, boredom, notice your judgment of it. Is it truly unbearable or just unfamiliar? Because discomfort doesn't break you. Your resistance to it does. And with time, something shifts. You begin to welcome the challenge, to seek the edge, to walk the harder path, not for pride, but for peace. Because the person who can go without, who can sit still in chaos, who can find joy in simplicity, that person is free. Not free from life, but free within it. You won't always get to choose your struggles. But when you voluntarily meet discomfort, you become ready for the ones you don't choose. Reflective question. What if you stopped avoiding discomfort and started inviting it? What would your life look like if you knew you could handle anything? Not because it's easy, but because you've trained for it. You don't need to seek pain, but you do need to step into small hardship on purpose, so when real storms come, you're already steady. Number 5, the view from above. You're stuck in traffic. You're late. Someone cuts you off your chest, tightens your hands, grip the wheel. In that moment, it feels personal, like the world has singled you out, like everything is conspiring against your peace. But what if you rose above it, not in arrogance, in perspective? The Stoics practiced something called the view from above, a mental exercise that helped them transcend the petty, the frustrating, the urgent. Marcus Aurelius used this practice often, looked down from above on the countless gatherings and countless ceremonies, and everything is a mess of little things, each like a moment quickly passing away. From ground level, life feels sharp and overwhelming, but from above it softens, it humbles, it puts everything in its place. Metaphor: imagine a snow globe. When you're inside it, everything's swirling, chaotic, loud. But when you step outside and look at the whole globe, you see the shape, the movement, the stillness at the core. That's what this practice offers you, a shift in altitude that restores your inner calm. So how do you practice this when the world feels close and suffocating? Step 1, the mental zoom out. When tension rises, take 10 seconds to imagine yourself from above. Start with the room you're in. Then zoom out, see the building. Zoom out more, your street, your city, your country. Eventually, Earth itself. You're just one person, one thought, in one moment on a spinning planet in a vast galaxy surrounded by time. Is this irritation really worth your peace? It's not detachment, it's clarity. You're not ignoring the problem, you're putting it back in proportion. Step 2, use elevation as a trigger. Try doing this every time you take the stairs or an elevator. Use that physical rise to remind you of a mental one. Ask, if I were 10,000 feet above this moment, how would it look when someone offends you, when a plan crumbles? Lift yourself out of the heat. You'll notice the ego quiets, the emotions settle. You return to stillness. Step 3. Perspective journaling. Each evening, write about one moment that frustrated you. Then write the same moment as if you were a historian 100 years from now. Watch how your tone changes, how drama fades, how wisdom replaces reaction. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the world's greatest empire, faced betrayal, war, loss. But from his journal, you wouldn't guess he was a ruler. You'd think he was a quiet man reflecting on the stars. That's the power of this lens. It turns chaos into context, and here's the deeper truth. When you take the view from above, you start to see everyone else as small figures too. Struggling, hurting, trying, just like you. That driver who cut you off, he's late to see his kid. That co-worker who snapped, she's grieving something she hasn't told anyone about. From a higher view, you stop taking things personally. You start living compassionately. Reflective question. What would change in your life if you zoomed out more often? What if every annoyance was just a speck of dust on a much larger lens? And what if peace was just one elevated breath away? You don't need a spaceship, just the willingness to rise inside your own mind, because the world is loud. But perspective is quiet power. Number 6, Premeditatio Malorum on paper. You hope tomorrow goes smoothly. You want the meeting to go well. You want traffic to be light, tech to cooperate, people to be kind. And if something goes wrong, you'll figure it out when it happens, right? That's how most people live, reactive, not prepared. But Stoics didn't leave tomorrow to chance. They practiced Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, but not just in their minds. They wrote it down. They anticipated what could go wrong on paper, not because they were anxious, but because they wanted to meet difficulty already grounded. Seneca reminds us, he who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. When you imagine the worst ahead of time, you disarm its surprise. When you name the discomfort before it bites, you reduce its sting. And when you put it in writing, you make the abstract visible. Metaphor. Think of a sailor before a voyage. She doesn't wait for the storm to build. She checks the skies. She secures the sails. She studies maps for hidden rocks, not to avoid the sea, but to respect it, to meet it with readiness. That's what this practice is, a quiet readiness. Here's how to make it part of your life. Step 1, morning forecast. 5 minutes. Each morning before your day begins, grab a journal or the Notes app. Write this prompt: what could go wrong today? Now list them honestly. My train might be late. I might forget my presentation. My friend might cancel plans. I might feel low energy. Don't dramatize it. Don't sugarcoat it. Just list it straightforward, calm. Now add this second line under each one. How will I respond if it happens? Example: train might be late. I'll use the time to breathe and listen to a Stoic podcast. Instead of spiraling, you just created a mental map. Now when the storm comes, you're not lost, you're equipped. Step 2, weekly what if scenario. Once a week, choose one bigger challenge. A client firing you, a project falling apart, a relationship ending, a health scare. Now ask 3 questions in writing. 1, if this happened, how would I react emotionally? 2, what support or strength would I lean on? 3, what lesson could this reveal later? You're not inviting misfortune, you're rehearsing resilience. By facing the fear head-on, you rob it of its mystery, you shrink its shadow. Step 3, the no surprise reflection. Every evening, review one thing that annoyed you. Ask, could I have seen this coming? Could I prepare better for it next time? If the answer is yes, add it to tomorrow's morning list. You're not predicting every twist, you're becoming familiar with friction. That familiarity creates a strange strength. Not arrogance, not control, but peace. Peace from knowing you've walked the path once in your mind, so you don't panic when your feet actually touch it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this often. Nothing happens to anyone that he is not fitted by nature to bear. That line feels abstract until you write it beside your fears. Then it becomes a reminder you can handle more than you think. And when others crumble from surprise, you remain grounded in foresight. Reflective question: what if? The next time something unexpected happened, you smiled because you saw it coming. What if your calm became your superpower? Not because life got easier, but because your mind got prepared. The world doesn't reward panic. It rewards poise. And poise is built one written rehearsal at a time. Number 7. Memento Mori, Memento Vivere. You wake up, check your phone, rush through tasks, and somehow hours vanish as if they never belonged to you. But what if every moment wasn't infinite? What if you lived today, knowing it might be your last, not in fear, not in dread, but in reverence? The Stoics kept this idea at the very center of their lives, Memento Mori. Remember, you must die. At first glance, it sounds dark, but in practice, it's one of the most life-giving disciplines you can embrace. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." Why? Because when death becomes real, so does life. The things you tolerate lose their power. The things you love become luminous. Metaphor: think of a candle. If you believed it would burn forever, you might ignore it. But if you knew the wax was running low, you'd sit beside it more attentively. You'd admire its glow. You'd honor its warmth. Your life is that candle. So how do you carry Memento Mori not as a weight, but as a lens that brings life into focus? Step 1. Touch the thought once daily. This isn't about obsessing over death. It's about using the thought to sharpen your vision. Each morning or night, hold a small object, a stone, a ring, a pendant. Gently say, "I may not be here tomorrow." Don't overthink it. Don't dramatize it. Just remember. Then look around. The face of someone you love, the meal you're about to eat, the sky outside your window. What suddenly feels more sacred? That's the point. Step 2. The graveyard gratitude. Visit a cemetery if you can, or look at old photos of people from history. Then journal. If this were my last year, what would I regret not doing today? It's not a guilt trip, it's a mirror. Because death reminds you not to run faster, but to walk with purpose, to stop waiting, to forgive sooner, to speak gentler, to create, to care, to be here. Step 3. Flip it, Memento Vivere. The companion to Memento Mori is this: Memento Vivere, remember to live. Don't just think about the end. Think about the opportunity of this hour, this afternoon, this exact breath. Because if you really internalize that life is brief, you don't waste it. Scrolling, arguing, overthinking. You use it. You make the phone call, you take the walk, you say the words, you slow down and finally taste your coffee. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. You could leave life right now. That's not a threat, it's a clarifier, and suddenly you feel awake. Not anxious, but present, tender, alive. Reflective. Question: what would you do differently today if you fully accepted this is not a rehearsal? What words would you choose more carefully? Which moment would you hold longer? Who would you finally become? You're not here forever, but while you're here, live like you remember that, because death isn't the opposite of life. It's what shapes its meaning. And when you walk hand in hand with that truth, you stop drifting. You begin living deliberately. Number 8. Inner Citadel Conversations. There's a voice inside you. It speaks before anyone else does. Before the world praises you or criticizes you. Before things go well or fall apart. It's there, whispering, questioning, commenting. But have you ever asked who built that voice, who trained it? And can you train it differently? The Stoics believed you could. They believed you must. Marcus Aurelius often referred to his inner citadel, a place inside his mind that no insult could breach, no misfortune could storm, a stronghold of clarity, calm, and conviction. built through conversation with oneself. He wrote, "Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging." Not a fountain of positivity, not fake cheer, but truth, stability, power, waiting beneath the noise. That's what your inner citadel can become if you know how to speak to it. Metaphor. Imagine a castle on a hill surrounded by chaos. Winds howl, enemies shout, storms crash. But inside that central tower, there's a room lit by fire, quiet, steady, untouched. Your inner voice is either that fire or it's the wind. So how do you build a stronger citadel and train your inner voice to become your ally, not your critic? Step 1. Recognize the default narrator. Throughout the day, notice what your mind says in small moments. You make a mistake. What's the first thought? I'm stupid. Of course I messed up. You receive praise. Do you say, "It's luck"? They probably didn't mean it. Write down some of these phrases, not to judge them, but to identify your narrator, because most of our internal dialogue isn't ours. It's inherited, it's conditioning, and until you see it, you're living by someone else's script. Step 2, create a Stoic voice. Within Marcus didn't just hope for clarity, he wrote it. He built a voice through journaling, through reflection, through repetition. Try this practice daily. At the end of the day, write 3 prompts. 1, what did I do well? 2, where did I react poorly? 3, what would my wiser self have whispered to me in that moment? Then write the actual whispers. Shape the voice you wish had spoken. With time, it becomes the voice that does. Step 3, use Stoic scripts in real time. The mind spins, a trigger hits, and you want to lash out, shut down, escape. Pause. Use one of these Stoic lines. Is this in my control? Epictetus would be proud. What matters in the long view, from the mountain, not the moment. Does this shake my citadel, or does it pass by the gates? Repeat these lines like mantras. At first they'll feel artificial, then they become reflexes. Step 4, invite inner dialogue. When something goes wrong, don't just feel, don't just react, speak. Ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Would Marcus or Epictetus or Seneca agree with this voice? What would the calmest version of me say back? You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to build a room inside your mind where clarity has a seat at the table. Because here's the truth, the world will always be noisy, but your mind doesn't have to be. You can build something steady inside. You can cultivate a voice that doesn't panic, doesn't spiral, doesn't insult. A voice that pauses, asks questions, returns to truth. A voice that reminds you, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which ones to trust. Reflective question. If a friend spoke to you the way your mind sometimes does, would you keep them close? If not, why let that voice live rent-free inside you? The Stoics knew we are shaped most by the conversations we have when no one else is listening. Make those conversations kind, make them wise, make them strong enough to hold you when nothing else does. Because in the end, your inner citadel isn't built in crisis, it's built in quiet, brick by brick and word by word, choice by choice. You came here looking for something, not more noise, not another productivity hack, not another lecture about how to hustle harder or be more impressive. You came here for stillness, for something underneath all that, something solid, something real. And now, after walking through these Stoic practices, you've touched it, even just for a moment. That calm place behind your reactions, that quiet room inside the storm, the inner steadiness the Stoics spent their lives cultivating. Let's return just for a breath to where we began. You clicked on this not by random chance, but because a part of you is ready to stop being tossed around by every event, every mood, every headline, ready to reclaim the wheel. You've now seen tools, daily practices, mental disciplines, ways to reframe your pain, to meet discomfort with grace, to prepare for difficulty before it hits. to return to your inner citadel again and again and again. But here's the thing, knowing these practices is not the same as living them. And if you don't apply them, if you let this video pass like any other, if you treat Stoicism as interesting instead of essential, the noise will return. The overreactions, the regrets, the moments where you knew you could have done better, but you didn't pause in time. That's the gap, the space between understanding and practice. And you get to decide right now if you'll close it. Because every morning from now on, you'll face a fork in the road. React or reflect, blame or breathe, ignore or apply. That's how a Stoic walks through life. Not rigid, not robotic, but intentional. And the beauty of it is you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to keep showing up. One pause at a time, one breath, one quiet act of courage. So if something in this journey spoke to you, if it steadied your heart or softened your mind, consider subscribing, not just to this channel, but to yourself, to your deeper nature, to the calm you carry, and the person you're becoming. Remember, the world will pull you in every direction, but you can always steer into the stillness.